This is TWiT.
So, Stacey, I looked at Stacey on IoT and I said, I wonder what's on Stacey's brain. And right there was this beautiful post of exactly what I wanted. I wanted to hear everything about Stacey's now newly connected home. And when I said, I want to see this, she just acted like I was violating her privacy because she forgot she wrote it almost. Oh, you're muted, Stacey.
Oh, she's muted.
Dang it. I did forget I wrote it because I wrote it last week, but that's just life on the edge here. So yeah, I wrote about, it's been a year. I've been in this house for a year and I hadn't really set up my smart home in my prior home because it was a rental. And after a year here, I kind of was like, well, really it's as set up as it's going to be for now. And the big caveat is I am waiting for Matter. It used to be Project Chip. So I'm waiting for a lot of devices. So I'm not purchasing some things that need to happen.
Well, tell us, stop right there for a second. Tell us what are the kinds of things you're waiting for. I'm eager to hear about that.
Sure. So in my Austin home, back when I was crazy, I had, all of these hubs, all of this Z-Wave gear, some Zigbee gear, and I was creating these crazy recipes like if this sensor detects motion, but this sensor hasn't detected motion, and this sensor says it's daylight, turn this light on, right? There was a lot. And I would spend like an hour to 2 hours every week, like keeping everything up to date and playing with stuff and futzing. I don't do that anymore. I gave up on all of that because, once Project Chip was announced, I was like, ooh, this could be good. This could make all of that stuff I do obsolete, please. And it's coming. We're going to see. So, I listed all of the devices that I had, but I wanted to get that caveat out of the way because for a long time, that's what I did. And that's why I think a lot of people followed me and they asked me questions about things. And I still have, smart things that I can test and do test, but I don't use it in my day-to-day and I don't make my family use it. So
you've not arrived in Valhalla yet, in Connected Valhalla. That will come.
Connected Valhalla has not arrived. I have known that. But
take us through what you have done to date. You showed us one thing last week, which we all loved.
Yeah, the wall.
She doesn't remember that either.
Oh, the NanoLeaf.
Stacey, I'm the old guy here, right? I got no memory. I got no brain anymore.
That look on her face was priceless.
I have the excuse. You have no excuse. This is your own home. This is your own life. These are the things that you have said.
I could actually look to, like, if I go like this, I'm like, oh, hello, NanoLeafs. I'm so sorry.
So for those of you on audio, what I said, you showed us last week, there was a complete blank look. As Ant said, it was the greatest look.
Face, like,
completely blank. Like, what did I do last week? That's history. I don't remember. Hi. Yeah. Anyway, you showed us a wonderful, beautiful thing you created last week, Stacey. Remember now?
Yes, I do. So there. Yes, that was great. So in addition to that, I have like 30 to 50 Wi-Fi devices, and all of them are geared to making our lives just a little bit easier, a little bit more voice controlled, mostly voice controlled, I'll be honest. So I detailed in this post everything in my smart home. I'm going to just condense a lot of this and say most of it is running on either an Amazon Echo, or one of a series of Google Assistant devices. So I don't have any HomeKit because Kevin does the HomeKit stuff. That's important to note. We split that up because otherwise it's just too much. And most of my automations are around lights and a couple around locks, and I'd like to get better at that. So I have 4 different sets of light kind of things. I have Wise smart outlets, Lutron switches and a Lutron outlet, Philips Hue bulbs, and the NanoLeaf stuff. I'm just thinking through. Yes. Oh, and Wise light bulbs. So those 4 ecosystems are my lights. And I have clumped them all together using rooms or whatnot in the Amazon and the Google apps. So that's most of this stuff. And then there's my boring stuff. Like I have a Fin water monitor device that checks my house for leaks. I have an Aquanta, which is on my water heater. And it says things like, hey, if you take your water heater temperature down, you could save energy. It also does things like it has a sensor attached in case it ever leaks. It's a really handy device. It's more for saving energy than it is for anything else, but I can use it to like turn off my water heater when my daughter is taking a 40-minute shower if I wanted to. I have.
Wait. You could turn it off. You could freeze her out, but you don't.
Yes.
Have you been known to do it once just to make a point?
No, because she's pretty good. I mean, all I have to, she's 15 or she's 14. So I'm like, you are hurting the planet. And she's like, not the planet. It's a low blow from my perspective. So water, HVAC. So I've got the EcoBees. I did find a sensor. After writing that post, my husband was like, we have a sensor. It's just downstairs. And I was like, oh. And then the other thing that's come in real handy is outdoor sprinkler controls. I don't have an irrigation system, but I do have faucets. And so I have the Orbit Beehive that actually arrived. So I set that up to set up my summer watering schedule. And that is really handy because I feel like I'm saving water, and that's really important. And yet still watering my tomatoes. I don't know. What else was in there? Was there anything else in there?
You have your mailbox thing hanging down over your Christmas wreath.
Oh, yes. That's because my mailbox is so far away. I have the Ring mailbox sensor, which, by the way, does not use the Amazon Sidewalk network. I can't wait till it does, because then it will actually reach far enough that because right now my Wi-Fi barely reaches my mailbox. I have to stick it in the outer edge of the garage. So that's where that's hanging right now. It's so pretty. And then the only other thing are my locks. And I'm really waiting on the Matter protocol to get sorted out, new Matter-enabled locks, because I want to put locks on all of my doors so I can do a good night routine that works. But right now I have a Z-Wave lock, but I have no Z-Wave hubs that I really want to set up for that. So that'll go away soon.
So 2 questions.
I don't know.
Does any of this irritate your husband and daughter?
Not anymore. It used to tremendously, because things would break. And now nothing breaks. Everything is just, it's a very passive system, which is what I wanted. Oh yeah. Thank you. So it's a super passive system. And the nice thing is my family doesn't actually know what they're missing. Like my husband would, if he knew that if all of our locks were compatible, he could turn off all of our locks just by saying good night, Madam A, he would be really pissed, but he doesn't know that. So he doesn't know what he doesn't know.
If you have
I look at all of this systems, and it reminds me of, when 10 years ago, I guess we can go back as far as 10 years ago, when you had the AV system for watching television, your home theater in a box and whatnot. And you had the cable box and you had the TV. So you had 3 different remotes right there. With this smart home stuff, it seems like at one point in time, at least for the longest for me anyway, it seems like anytime I started to look into it, seems like it was just bringing back that scenario of I needed a remote for this and I needed a remote for that. And it just said, you know what, I'll pass. I don't use
apps. So I am almost, the only apps I use are the EcoBee, because I didn't set it up through the Amazon. And there's actually no reason for that. Just I didn't. And then the NanoLeaf, simply because I like using, there's like dozens of recipes that you can have on your different NanoLeaf panels. And I just never remember the names of them. So, but everything else is voice or buttons. And I have a lot more buttons than you might. Voice buttons or automations. So I actually have probably 6 or 7 buttons that I just have placed to control like connected lights around my house that are more convenient than the light switches.
It's like Donald Trump's Coke button.
Yes, except
nobody knows what it does, but you do.
Yes. Well, no other. I mean, my husband knows what it does. And we have like, for example, a button that calls my daughter down, like on our kitchen. It controls her lights on and off, because she hated when we would drop in on her using the Echo. She's like, I don't like that. And I was like, that's fair. So then we just set up her lights with a little the Lutron light switch, and then the Pico remote, and you just toggle the lights on and off real fast. It works like a charm.
It's the daughter eye rolling button. Oh no, they want me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to go off Ant's question, though, is that so you don't have 3 remotes, but you have 2 different systems, Amazon and Google. Do you forget which system to ask for what?
So
the lights are Amazon, but the door is Google?
No, everything's dual setup. So everything is dual setup that can be dual setup. And, there's it also, just so y'all know, there's a lot of stuff in there that isn't connected. So like my fridge actually could be connected to the internet, but it's not. My bed could be connected to the internet, but it's not. I've got my sink faucet.
But why aren't they connected?
Yeah.
I didn't see any value. Like it was, there's no need to have that app on my phone. And the use case is so not compelling to me. And in the case of my sink, the use case is compelling, but I don't have an outlet yet under the sink. One day that might be connected.
I could see use case for the sink with leaks and things like that.
It's actually just to tell Madam A to fill my pot with 4 cups of water.
Wow.
It's a handy thing. You don't have to get out your measuring cups. You could just be like, so, Madam A, I actually miss that aspect of my connected sink, believe it or not. In my devices, most of them aren't smart. They're mostly remote control. The smarts are the automations I build. The 2 devices that are the smartest, maybe I would say the devices that are the smartest are actually the most boring ones. So like, except for the June oven, which is totally smart and I love it. And y'all have all heard about it.
And you bought 2 of them.
I've bought 2 of them. I love them. Actually, I bought like so many because I gave them as gifts to people I love. But,
wow, aren't you generous? Oh,
it was my parents. They do a lot for me. But let's see. What was I going to say? Oh, the fin is really smart because it's looking for leaks all the time and it can tell where they are. So that's actually really smart and it's really non-intrusive.
Right.
The Aquanta is really smart and non-intrusive. But most of the other, how really can a light bulb be smart? The Apple's circadian, or what do they call it? It's not, oh gosh. They have a circadian rhythm kind of lighting thing, adaptive lighting.
That's a good idea.
It is, and it works really well. But you wouldn't like it, because in your studio, for example, you need to control those lights, right? But in your house, it's really nice, and it just kind of cycles through the day. I don't know.
Now, what are you using as a primary command center, if you will? People listening to This Week in Google, they may or may not know we have another show called Smart Tech Today, which airs on Thursdays, just before my show, Hands on Photography.
Well done. Plugs, sir.
And they talk a lot about these types of devices, and Mr. Matt Casanelli uses shortcuts with his iPad to handle a lot of this stuff. What is your command center, if you will?
My command center is usually, it's both Google and Madam A. So I set up the routines in those hubs. And then that's how I control most of these. They act as my hubs. So, I've used Homebridge, I've used OpenHab, I've used SmartThings, I've used a bunch of them.
Right. That's what he was saying.
Yeah, I was like, that's what Micah loves.
Yeah.
And that Homebridge ties all your Apple stuff to your non-Apple stuff that's not HomeKit supported and allows you to control all that. And that's all really great. I just got so tired of spending so much time reconnecting things that fell off or tweaking, if I bring in a new light or I move a light bulb to someplace else, you've got to go spend all this time to rejigger it. And I'm just waiting for Matter in ways for that to be easier and less manual on me as the administrator.
Was CHP or CHIP or whatever it's called, was that late 2019 when this hit
CHIP
the news?
Was announced 2019. It became Matter earlier this year. So those are the same project.
Okay.
And yeah.
And I struggled back then trying to understand it and still struggling now. Yeah.
It's okay. Hopefully you don't
when
have
Matter comes out, is there anything to replace from what you have now?
Yes.
What would you
when
replace?
Matter comes out, I'm swapping out my door locks for Matter compliant locks.
Right.
I'm hopeful that my Philips Hue lights will be Matter compliant. I'm super hopeful, y'all, that my Lutron stuff is Matter compliant, especially because it's in the walls. I think my Google hubs are next week is Amazon's Madam A live event. So I'm hoping we'll hear about Madam A and Amazon Echo and Matter. Yeah, I know. It's awkward. I just don't want to say her name. It's so rude. So I'm hopeful we'll see that, on some things. I don't have a lot of cameras. So, Matter doesn't work with cameras. So I'm not going to be dealing with a lot of that. And I'm also hopeful for things like sidewalk, because if I had my druthers, I would be putting, sidewalk compliant sensors throughout my yard and garden and tie that into my sprinklers, for example, or my faucet timers, for example. So, there's a lot I want to do. I just can't do it yet I'm just not willing to spend that much time anymore on it.
I think for me, the most automation that I want would be just lights popping on and off when I either enter the room or leave the room and stuff like that. That I guess I'm just too much of a control freak and just don't quite trust this technology just yet to get it right for me. Because again, all I can think about is just the battles that I had with remote controls over the years. And then finally, Logitech and its Harmony remotes really did help and just unify everything for me. But now that's gone away.
They killed it.
Yeah.
I will say, Ant, I give it another year. Check out some of the Matter stuff. I think things like the good night routines are really nice. Like I wrote in my post, I have 7 doors leading to the outside in my house. So being able to build a routine that 4 of my doors are sliding patio doors. There's no way I can automate that. But,
right.
Being able to lock all your doors at night instead of going around physically and checking them is actually a really nice thing. And there's lots of things that are going to be better. And then we're also there's actually a story about Amazon going for radar sensors. Things like RF sensing are going to be really big for adding person detection and proximity detection inside the home. And that's going to do things like when you walk in the house, your air conditioner will know where you are and could theoretically cool those areas. Your lights, like you said, would come on and off in a much better, and they could be personalized to you. Things like in emergency situations, your house could say, oh, shoot, Ant's on the ground and it's in the middle of the living room. That's super weird. Let's call his wife.
Right. Second time you've had us walk over Ant's bodies in the show, but we'll leave it.
That is true. Sorry, Ant. I'm just taking you down this week.
First time was an Ant wanted something to drink. Otherwise he'd collapse.
Right.